Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. What I'm going to show you today is an adjustment on my front sway bar. I've already got the car up on ramps so I can get under there and do my work. You see that boot there on the steering rack? It's got a little bit of dampness, or a little bit of leakage actually out of the boot. That's because it's rubbing on the sway bar. The sway bar is an oversized sway bar, and if you look at the bottom of the sway bar, it's not so low that it's touching this lower control arm yet. So I've got a little bit of adjustment I think I can do without hitting this lower control arm. Also, the lower control arm will move down when the sway bar moves down and up when the sway bar moves up, so I'm not too worried about contact there, but I want to get away from that boot. So if you see the length adjustment on that, I've got about 8 threads that I can go down, and I'm also going to lubricate the bushings right here, so I'm going to disconnect both sides of the sway bar and lubricate the bushings, and then put it back on and at a lower position. So let me get some tools out and we'll get started. A little change up of plans here. What I decided to do was jack the front of the car up off the ramps so that I can pull the wheels so that I can get at the sway bar. I was getting at it, but it was a lot of work. Just because there's no room to work. So this way I can pull the wheels off, do the bar, put the wheels back on, and I got to change the wheels out anyway for competition tomorrow, and then I'll put the car back down on the ramps so I can set the sway bar neutral. I'll show you all that. Okay, I got both ends off, just one nut and bolt on each link on each end, and so the bar is free now. I like where I can move it by hand. I've got it shimmed with some flat washers underneath the bracket that holds it, so that you can move it slightly by hand. That's a good thing to do. Now I'm going to take these 2 brackets off, and that'll put the sway bar completely loose, and I'm just going to grease it. I'm going to put some grease on there. These are 13 millimeter. I'm going to use my air gun. Okay. See what I mean? Now I can get at everything, both sides, no problemo. Okay, let me finish getting that nut and bolt off. You don't have to take the bar actually all the way out. You could if you want to, but I just undid there. I just undid the top. Well, actually it's the bottom bolt on the bracket, and kind of swung it out of the way on both sides, and then now I can move this. This has a split on it. The bushing has a split right there, and you can just peel that off, grease it, put it back together, and save yourself a little bit of time. Okay, we get all those fasteners back there, and I can move the bar by hand with a little bit of resistance, and I'm going to torque those 2. I'll give you the torque spec in a little bit. Going along nicely. This is a very sticky grease that I use for most of my suspension work, for rubber poly bushings. I think probably Summit or Jegs sells it. I got this from FADT, P-F-A-D-T, when they were in business, and this came with their poly bushing kit. So I'm going to just put a light coating of grease around both sides, and then I'm going to put it back up, and that didn't take too long. Now right there you should be able to see the little hole in the boot right there. So what I'm going to do, in addition to moving the sway bar so it doesn't rub that anymore, I'm going to put some rescue tape. It's a silicone tape that adheres to itself, and I'm going to wrap that around there, and so that it doesn't leak anymore. It's not leaking much, but I don't like any leaks at all. There's a good shot of it right there, just that little hole there. So I'm going to wrap a couple of wraps here. Here's some rescue tape. Okay. Very high temperature, low temperature, impervious to gasoline, grease, everything else. Really good stuff. And I might put a couple of tie wraps around it too. Oops, I thought I had that off. Okay, there's the finished product. A couple of wraps of rescue tape, a couple of tie wraps, and that should be. And then I'm going to clearance the sway bar, so that should be fine. You know, you could replace these two. You just have to disconnect over here, slide it on, and there's a clamp on one end and a clamp on the other end. But this one's actually pretty new, so I just thought I'd reinforce them that way. Okay, Froggy's going to wrap it up here. I left the last nut and bolt in, and I lowered it, and it was bound up, and I couldn't even get it out, so I had to jack it back up. What I did, and what you should do is, when you're setting your sway bar, is jack it up, take the one last nut and bolt out, leave it out, then lower it down, settle it down on a suspension, and then go underneath and shorten or lengthen the link until you can get the nut and bolt, get the bolt through there, and then just tighten it up. It's a little harder to get to, but that's the right way to do it. Otherwise, you bind the bolt up and you can't get it out anyway. I was just taking a wild chance that it might come out right, but it rarely does. Between, you know, with the suspension in droop and with the suspension loaded. So anyway, that's what I got. I got to finish doing my rear wheels for competition, and then check the fluids and air them up, get it ready for tomorrow. So hope you got some information off that sway bar. That was the front sway bar. I also did a separate video on the back sway bar because they're pretty different, and you will find them on my channel. So give me a thumbs up if you like this, or a like, and subscribe if you want more from Froggy. See you later, guys and gals. Froggy out. Bye-bye.